Okay, now I'm back. So I usually start these sessions by asking how many of my typing sessions have you watched before?
Most of them, like at least all of the recent ones.
Okay, all right. So do you feel like you have a pretty good understanding of how I go about like when I'm asking Mia what I'm thinking is telling me?
Maybe like half of the things, at least like tests for, specific functions. But I
Okay.
still don't have like a great understanding of cognitive functions. So
Okay. Can you tell me about the last time you went out to a restaurant?
yeah, it was today. There's a restaurant in my block I live. It's a China restaurant. I kind of like, the interiors, like how it's decorated. There are a lot of, this Chinese like lanterns, and I had, I had a salad with chicken, some sauce.
Okay.
It didn't taste that good. I was here for the first time.
Okay. Did you get any fortune cookies at the end?
Fortune cookies? No.
Okay. Can you recount for me any insignificant in incident that you remember anyway, even though it's insignificant, such as, for example, somebody dropped their fork while you were eating?
Like at this restaurant?
Yeah. Like, can you recall for me something that you remember, but it's very insignificant? There's not really any good reason to remember it, but you remember it.
Mm. I mean, I was there by myself and I was like in my head all the time. I didn't pay attention to the environment. So
Okay. Uh, you say you were in your head. Were you on your phone?
yes, also.
Okay. Usually, when you're by yourself, do you find yourself looking at your phone?
Yes. Like
And
much of the time.
what are you most likely to be doing on your phone? You're going to be like text messaging somebody, Googling something, watching a YouTube video. What kind of thing are you most likely to do on your phone?
Um reading some articles on the internet or reading some books, watching YouTube videos. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Let's say you want to learn something about yourself. What might you, excluding typology stuff, what might you Google to learn something about yourself?
Like recently, I googled article for like how to discover like my core values or something like that. It's connected to the typology, but it's not the same.
Okay. Do you know about an Enneagram?
No.
Okay. Uh, how long have you been interested in psychology stuff, and or is typology the only psychology stuff you're interested in?
Yes, it's the only one.
Okay. Um, you talk to me about your media consumption habits, like when you're not watching YouTube videos that or about typology or some other thing you need to like how to fix a sink or whatever. You're just watching for entertainment, something like a movie or TV show. What kind of stuff do you watch?
Like currently I'm into Asian movies and TV shows. Um, and yeah, I watch
Like
some
anime?
movies.
Like anime or like K dramas?
No, not anime. It's just yeah, like K dramas or Japanese dramas, Chinese dramas.
Okay. Why
Um,
do you think you're into those?
why did I get into this?
Yeah, what appeals to you about them?
Um, I'm like I'm interested in Asian culture, so I wanted to see like how mm, how are their like movies and shows different to the Europe or American, uh, European or American, and I find them like visually pleasing much more. Uh,
Okay. What about subtitles? Does it bug you, or are you very comfortable with subtitles? Do you prefer subtitles?
yes, I usually watch subtitles everything.
Okay. So, will you put on captions even if it's in a language you speak?
Um, I mean, I'm Polish native, and I usually watch English movies or foreign stuff. I don't watch like a lot of Polish movies, so I usually put on captions. Yeah,
I can't really even think of any Polish movies.
I
I
can.
guess they there must be some famous Polish movies, but I can't think of any. Okay. Do you watch local news?
No,
No. Do you read about politics and stuff on the internet?
no, I'm not interested in
Okay, cool. And so, what are your thoughts about the differences culturally between, let's say, Japan and Europe?
it. You know, like in these movies that I'm watching, uh, it's like they have very different style of acting. It's like very much uh, like exaggerated, and they have.
Say that last word again. It's what?
Sorry,
I didn't catch that last word you said. It's something that rhymes with aided.
sorry, I didn't get it.
Okay, well, you were just saying they have a different acting style. It's more
Exaggerated, like
exaggerated. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. And do you think that that's a better way of like resonating with you emotionally, or conveying information without words, and that's appealing to you? Or
Let me say that again.
I'm saying, so do you like the exaggerated acting because it it better conveys the emotionality of the thing, or for some other reason?
I don't like. I don't like it. I mean, uh, I find it a little bit weird. Uh, like I'm used to, the European or American style. So it's just something that I noticed.
Okay, cool. It doesn't bother you enough to make you stop watching this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, you have uh, goals or plans? Say like in 3 years, I'd like to be yeah, or vague inclinations like I think I'm probably one yeah, or you say like no, I just have to play it by ear.
Um, I have like a vague idea of how can my life look like in the future, but it's not a concrete plan or goal. It's just like some sort of um, impression in my mind.
Okay,
Like,
can you tell me a little bit about what those impressions of yourself in the future are like? What they include?
it's even hard to describe. You know.
Okay. Can you tell me how you're feeling physically right now? Any aches and pains, stiff shoulders, anything like that?
Um, I did a little bit stretching for the session, but my back is still a little bit tense.
Okay. And how are you feeling emotionally?
Um, I think I'm a little bit excited for this session.
Okay. Uh, I have to ask about your name. Is your first name God?
Sorry?
Well, you're Miss Zilla.
Yeah, that's my nickname
So,
for like
so
games.
if your first name's God, then you're Godzilla.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Okay. I get this burrito out of it. Um, can you talk to me about any projects that aren't employment projects that you have currently ongoing or in the works?
Um, yeah, I'm learning. I learned to paint in watercolors like right now.
Okay. So are you in the middle of making a painting?
Yes.
What's it a painting of?
What's in the paintings?
Yeah, what's it a painting of?
I'm painting mostly landscapes. Like
Landscapes?
yes, yeah, like some sunsets or mountains. I like pretty simple stuff. Like nothing complicated. Just uh, like very minimalistic landscapes. Like two mountains, for example, and some stuff in the sky, and that's it.
Okay. And do you think that you're communicating anything with your painting, or is it just a way of satisfyingly expressing yourself?
I find it. Uh, I'm really like result oriented in my paintings. I just like them to look pretty, and it's
Okay.
not a form of like self expression for me.
Okay. Do you have a different medium in which you do express yourself more, like talking or writing or music or something like that?
Mm, I I play drums, and I don't know if it's like self expression, but um, yeah, I don't think that like it's like just activity for me to like feel more energized and you know
Okay.
I'm thinking about getting to writing because I think it can be the form of self-expression for me, like the best. But I didn't start
Okay.
it.
And can you explain to me why that would be a better form of self-expression for you than painting or drums?
Mm, I don't know. I think I liked writing in the past. I find it really easy for myself. Like I like to write my thoughts out. Even when I'm like planning something, I just like to have it written. And I read some like novels. Like I just like written words. Like even when I'd rather like read an article than watch a video about something. Like, I just like words.
Yeah, I feel you. Okay. So, what do you think your emotions tell you more about? Where your boundaries are, or what's important to you?
Um, I'd like to say both, but I think uh, more about what are my boundaries. Like it's the stuff that I immediately like recognize, I'm aware of, but about what it's like important to me, it's often like it takes longer to like realize. Sometimes I need to process it like for a little bit longer.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you some TI questions. If some burritos have beans and this has beans, is it necessarily a burrito?
No.
Okay. If only Egyptians build pyramids and I've built a pyramid, am I necessarily an Egyptian?
Yes.
Okay. Let's try some missing generalizations. So for missing generalizations, the answer is always going to start with only, no, or all. I'll give you an example. Judy can't come in here. This is the men's locker room. The missing generalization is only men can go in the men's locker room, or no women can go in the men's locker room,
Okay.
or it's assuming Judy's a woman. All right, so let me give you one here. That can't be a goose. They don't live in the desert.
So only gooses live in the desert.
No gooses live in the desert. I guess that's a bad one I gave you. Let me try another. Uh, that must be a cat. It's eating cat food.
Only cats eat cat food.
Okay. Can you convert it to all?
All cats eat food.
All things that eat cat food are cat. All right. How about this one? You can't eat dinner here. You're not a poet.
Only poets can eat dinner here.
Okay. Can you convert it to all?
Um, so all people that eat dinner here are poets.
Good. Okay. Cool. All right. Now let me try a couple genealogy pro. Can you tell me who my father's only sister's wife's daughter is in relation? I'm sorry. My father's only sister's husband's daughter is in relation to me.
Your cousin?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you tell me what you think truth is?
I mean, there can be a lot of definitions different. Um, like truth can be uh, like literally describing, for example, the facts, like events that happened somewhere that someone observed, or it can be like, I don't know, staying true to yourself, like being aware of your values, what's important to you, and saying things you have on your mind.
Okay. What are your core values, do you think?
I'm still like discovering it, but I think one of the most important would be like knowledge for me, or I know it's like respect, um, maybe like beauty of things, uh, some
Okay.
sort of like freedom, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Um, uh, what offends you, like in the world? If you were going to not describe a specific event that offends you, but think about a specific event perhaps, and then explain it as an example of a kind of phenomenon. What kind of phenomenon offends you?
Mm. I'm not sure if I get it.
Well,
Can
for
you give me?
example, are you offended when people are not respectful of other people in service positions?
Mm,
So, so to articulate out the whole process I'm talking about, you start by thinking, well, I was offended one time when that lady was being super rude to the waiter. And then instead of saying that to me, you'd say, I get offended when people don't treat serve people in service positions with respect.
mm. Do you mean like things that doesn't happen like to me personally?
Yeah, I'm asking you, when you encounter something in the world, either because you've read about it, you witnessed it, you heard about it, somehow you've come to know about it, and it offends you, what kind of phenomenon is it likely to be that offends you?
Uh, yeah, so I think about like um, maybe like public debates when people like interrupt each other constantly. That's something that I hate. That's why I can't like watch this type of things.
I can't watch
Uh,
that shit.
um, hmm, what else?
Would you be more likely to judge somebody else negatively for being unfair or for being unkind?
I guess I'm kind, but I don't feel like strongly about any of these options. It's hard to tell.
Okay. If you, which of these statements is most true for you? I wish I were more sensitive. I wish I were more impactful. I wish I
Impact,
were more reliable. I'm giving you three
impact.
things.
Yeah.
Impact? Okay. Um, can you talk to me about your relationship with procrastination?
Oh, I procrastinate all the time. Like in work, um, I usually, well, it depends. If it's a task that I think it will take a short amount of time, like it's easy, so I usually do this right now, like to just check it off on my mind. Um, but if it's like more complicated, uh, I will like put it off until the last minute. Maybe it's because I usually like need a proper amount of like research to do things at work. And if it's like complicated task, I I do this research, but then after that, it's hard for me to like, motivate myself to actually do the task. And I also like my in my everyday life, yeah, I procrastinate on things like cleaning the house or on the chores or mm, like buying things that I have to buy. Essentially, I just think about it and I don't do this. Like for example, I should buy curtains for my windows, but since I moved in here like 2 years ago, I still didn't buy it, and I always like, think I should buy. I even once or twice were searching over the internet for something that I would like to buy, and I didn't.
Hmm. Well, boy, can I identify with you there because we finally got curtains only because we have a wedding happening in 6 days here with house guests. And so we have to put curtains up so that they won't be curtainless in those rooms because we don't really use them. But we've been meaning to get them since we moved in, but it took this externality to actually get us to buy them.
Yeah.
And a deadline that we can't get away from. Okay. So yeah, SE sucks ass. All right. Can you tell me? Let's play. I'll tell you the first half of the story. You finish the story and tell me the second half. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the first half of the story. Once there was a squirrel named Frida, and she had a mission in life to get inside of a house and watch Animal Planet on TV. The other squirrels all said, "Don't try it. It's dangerous to go inside the people's house." Now you finish the story.
Okay, so the squirrel was so determined to get in there. Like she was sitting and uh, watching the house to like look how it's like how the people are like living inside, and they're dangerous or not. Uh, she was like hidden in the bush next to the house, like observing them. And once she saw them, uh, go on a trip, they packed their luggage. They left the house. So she thought, okay, it's my moment. Uh, she ran to the door, but the door was closed. She didn't knew how to get inside the house. Mm. And she jumped on the window. Uh, she was like, "What's that?" When she saw that the window was glass, um, and she was so fascinated by this, like she never seen something like that before, and um, she was like touching it, her pulse, um, and she thought, okay, there's like magical barrier here. I uh, I cannot get through there. Mm. So she jumped on the roof and she found how's it called?
Chimney?
Yeah, chimney. And she jumped into it and she fell into the fireplace that was here. And she started burning and she died, and that's the end of the story.
Those people were very irresponsible to leave a fire in the fireplace when they went on vacation.
Yeah.
But I guess, maybe they were protecting themselves from roof source squirrels. Okay, well, that was an excellent finishing of the story. Thank you. I'm glad to know what happened now. So what do you have any intellectual goals? Like, I'd like to understand this thing better, or I'd like to learn how to do this.
Mm. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about like art, just generally like art history, to to get to know art better. Like, when I go into art galleries or uh, the types of places, like to understand the art more, maybe like to interact with it, uh, and say
How,
in better way.
how long do you think it takes you to know whether you think a piece of art is good or not?
Mm, I think just immediately, like I think of it, and if I like, I decide if I like it or not. I'm not like
Okay.
very knowledgeable on the art, so I cannot really like look at this from the perspective of how are colors uh, in the piece of art or something like that.
Okay. Well, do you feel like the quickness with which you know whether something is good is different for different media? For example, does it take you longer to know whether a book you're reading is good than a painting you're looking at, or a song you're listening to, or a TV show you're watching?
Yeah, I think it depends. Like if it's something visual, like static visual media, yeah, it's like it's either I like it or not. Uh, but yeah, there were like books uh, or TV shows that at the start I was like, oh my god, it's crap. But then I like went through it. I was like, oh, I actually liked it. You know.
Yeah, well, yeah, some TV shows have to find their way. It takes them a little while to figure out what's working for them.
Yes.
Okay. So, what was I about to ask you about? Oh, okay. So you say you know whether you like it or not. Do you think that, what do you think about how whether or not you like something correlates with whether or not it's good? Do you think there is quality beyond just your personal preference?
Mhm. I don't know. Um, I think it's mostly like on my personal preference.
What's the difference between knowledge and belief?
Mm, knowledge. I think knowledge is just like something maybe scientifically like discovered, some like facts. Belief is uh, belief. Mm.
Can you articulate a belief you have that isn't knowledge?
Mm, I don't know. I'm not really like into spirituality or
You tend to withhold judgment on things, like you're fine with them, with you not really knowing what to think about something.
say that again.
Like, are you comfortable? Are you more comfortable withholding judgment and not having a position on something, or are you more comfortable taking a position on something, even if it might be premature and you might have to change your position?
No, I think I base like my beliefs on my knowledge or something I
Okay.
observe.
Okay. All right. So how much do you think that novelty, originality plays a factor in how much you like something artistically, mediating of some sort?
I feel like I have like my preference that I usually search for art in that style. Uh, I'm not like searching for you know other styles of art or something like that. But hmm, I believe I like some variety in my life. Uh, hmm. No, but I don't mind if it's something like similar to other things I saw.
Okay. Do you think that the stuff you like, it elicits more of an emotional response from you than the stuff you don't like?
Um, hmm, Probably. Hmm.
Okay. Can you articulate an instance when you used your feelings to make a decision?
Let's see. Hmm. Maybe when I was like recently on a party, and I was like, "Oh, it's boring here. I want to go home. I don't like sitting there." Maybe that's an example. I decided to leave.
Sure. That's a good example. Um, can you talk to me about socializing? You mentioned the party. Like, what's how active are you socializing? Do you socialize more online or in person? Um, do you have a couple of close friends and keep everybody else at arm's length? Do you try to sustain relationships? Like, talk to me about that kind of stuff.
I'm not socializing very much. Like I feel like my social batteries are very uh, you know low. Um, but yeah, I usually talk with people over the internet, like online on Discord sometimes. Um, and I prefer to have like one friend or two, like the best friends, and to face to talk with them face to face. Um, like usually talking with them about something like I'm interested in, uh, something like meaningful to me. I don't like seeing with people just like force, for seeing them.
Okay. And what about like dating and stuff? Are you like too much of a hassle, or is it an activity you do, or you know, are you a long term relationship person, uh or not? You know.
Uh, I ended my relationship like 3 years ago, and since then I didn't look for anyone new. I'm not really dating. I I was in a Tinder like for a few days just to uh, check it out. What was this app all about? And I didn't like it, so I uh, I left it, and I don't do anything right now about it.
Okay, cool. And I'm guessing you don't feel like you're missing out on anything, right?
Yeah, I
Or
don't.
do you? Oh no, you don't. Okay. Cool. Can you talk to me about your sleeping and eating habits? Let's do sleeping first. How many hours a night do you think you need? How many do you get? Do you go to bed at the same time every night, etc.?
Uh, yeah, so I usually, um, I do something in the evening, like sitting by the computer. Or I, I don't know, I read a book or do whatever, and until I feel like I'm a little bit tired, and I think, okay, I can. If it's something like uh, continue just lying in bed, I go to bed. And I usually, yeah, when I'm laying in bed, I do some stuff like on my phone or read a book, to the point like when I feel my eyes closing and I can do this like for longer, then I go to sleep. Um, it looks like usually I'm tired around the same hour. Uh, and I think I need like 6 hours of sleep, like minimally. Uh, ideally, I guess like 7. Uh, I usually get 6 because that's how I wake up. Like I usually wake up before my alarm goes up. So
Okay. Do you think you get the same amount of sleep whether you have to work the next day or not?
mm, yes,
Okay. Uh,
my
do you feel
eating.
do you feel like you have to work too much, or would you like even more hours, or what's your relationship with that? Like,
Working. Mm, I mean, sometimes I work overtime, but it's because I just didn't do. Sometimes I don't do anything when I work. I work from home. Sometimes I just do whatever, uh, some other stuff, and then yeah, I tend to like sit overtime and like, finish my task. Uh, but yeah, I'd like to not work at all.
yeah,
I had a choice.
that is the goal ultimately for smart people. For Dave Matthews, he thinks the purpose of making a lot of money is to launch more small businesses. Okay. Well, would you say that people who know you think you're more extroverted than you actually are, or think you're more introverted than you actually
Uh, I think they get it right, just right. Like everyone knows that I'm a big introvert. Uh, maybe sometimes I can seem like more extroverted when I'm uh, talking with someone about something that I'm interested in. Uh, maybe I'm sort of like more animated. I don't know, but I think no, people just know I'm an introvert.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you what type I think you are now, and then we've got 13 minutes or so to talk about it. Uh, I feel very confident that you're an INTP.
INTP.
Yeah, you're not an ISTP because you have way too much NE. Now, granted, it's not displaying quite the same as it would were you a native English speaker. And my NE tests are the ones that typically are really the only ones that are impacted by whether or not you're a native speaker of English. But regardless, you the way you finished that story, if you've seen my typing sessions before, you've seen me ask people to finish stories, and you've seen how much trouble they have with even the concept of finishing a story, and how so many people just sort of immediately resolve the thing, like the peacock bowling alley story or whatever. And they go, well, I said, okay, here's some shoes for you. Now go bowl. The thing is, I could track your any process as you were going through that story very easily, and you're definitely not any polar. I can't nail down your any two, but I can nail down your TI one or two, because your TI is slamming. Your SI is slamming in conjunction with the TI too. So, for example, when I asked you like 3-part question on your sleeping habits, you answered each of them, even though I had already forgotten the third part that you answered. Once you finish answering the first and second one, then you proceed to answer the third, because those are the 3 questions I asked. So those are the things you responded to, as a good TI user would, especially if they've got good SI, so they can remember. IHBs have got better SI than I do, because it's third slot. What do you think you are?
No, I thought INFJ because it's like I felt like my TE is such a crap. Uh,
Oh, I never really tested your TE. Let me ask you some TE questions. Um, but I don't think you're an INFJ. Just before you even ask these questions, I'll tell you why I'm rather confident you're not an INFJ. Is that your SI as a useful thing is better than INFJs. But let me ask you some TE questions. So let's say you need to you're going to a concert. It's summer. It's the middle of the day the concert's at. You're going to be there for at least 4 hours. Talk to me about what steps you take before you leave to make sure that it's a good experience for
I try to think about last time I went to a concert. Mm, to actually know what I do before. Um, so But I feel like I don't need to even like do anything before going to a concert. If I just go there and if it's music I like, then I go. And it's probably something that I will like. Uh,
Okay, well, how important is it to you going to this hypothetical concert that you either take your own car or can take public transportation back so you can leave whenever you want? Is it cool with you if you ride with somebody else, even though you know that means you might have to stay longer than you want to?
um, yeah, I'm fine like going alone to places like that to to be sure, yeah, like that I can leave whenever I want. Uh, so yeah, I don't have a car like right now, so I would just go by the public transportation. Uh, yeah, but if they go in with someone else, I feel like okay, maybe I would I would still be like, oh, I want to leave now and just go, even if they didn't want to. So,
Okay. Um, can you give me an example of your bad to E? You said you perceive yourself as having bad to E. Can you give me? Can you tell me what's caused you to perceive yourself that way?
um, because there used to be one thing like in my work uh, that I needed to do often, and it was like there were concrete steps, step by step. It was like procedure that I needed to do, and I always messed it up. Like I don't know why. I don't even know why. Like I thought I'm going by the procedure, like it should work, but it didn't. Like almost every time. And I was so confused by it. And when I discovered MBTI, I thought, hey, maybe that's very bad TE. And
Now, in that
I did
instance,
this.
did, but in that instance, did you have a set of step one, step two, step three, step four that you were looking at and following?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be bad SE, not bad TE, because TE is figuring out what the steps are that you have to take. SE is executing those steps. If you're just looking at them written down and executing them, basically you either skipped a step or you uh, did read a step but did something slightly differently than it said or something like that, probably, right? Or there could have been a problem with the set of instructions.
Mhm. I mean, I had these instructions, like I've written them, like someone told me, like how to do this step by step, and I just, I noted it. So uh, I don't know. Now I don't have this trouble anymore. Like I did this too many times, so now it's working. I have this like I remember this in my brain, but yeah, it was tough time. But I think like some tests on the TI, uh, like this genealogy questions, they're like kind of easy. You can just imagine a family tree, and when you say uh, the words, you can go through the branches and you end somewhere. That's your answer.
Okay, well, yeah, I would agree with you that the TI questions are easy if I didn't evaluate how people respond to them. If I'm only saying based on my perception, are the TI questions easy? Yes. Based on the display of responses I get when I ask those purportedly easy TI questions, They're not easy for most people. But I will ask you some harder ones. If P or Q, then not R, and R, what can we conclude? I'll repeat it. If P or Q, then not R, and R, what can we conclude?
Not P and not Q.
Correct. You didn't even say not P or Q. You De Morgan'd it out. Not P and not Q is correct. Good job. Did you take it logic?
Sorry, something disconnected.
My bad. Have you taken conditional logic before, like in school or something?
Yeah, like in college we had logic. We had logic subject, but I didn't feel like best at it. You know, I work as a programmer now, and it's something that like conditional statements are a big part of this job. You know, so maybe that's the reason.
Okay. Can you convert not P or Q into a conditional statement?
So if not P,
Not P or Q, right? Okay, so the not's inside the parentheses. Not P or Q. Convert that into a conditional.
mm, so if not P or Q, then R, like
No, it's not P. It certainly implies if P then Q. Because if you have not P or Q, then P, that's the negation of not P, so you must have Q. As per any disjunction, if P or Q and not Q, then P, right? So the thing is, not P or Q converts into if P then Q. Regardless, the point is, I don't think it is true you can learn to do TI questions better. And in fact, even if your TI is poor, maybe even polar, if you study the exact kind of TI questions I'm asking and come up with a TE kind of workaround for it, you can answer some of them. But I don't think an INFJ would have as smooth and fluid and quick and deep a relationship with TI reasoning as you do. It's possible. But okay, so like break down the task of getting dressed in the morning into the optimal number of steps if you were having to leave instructions for your clone.
So choose the outfit you want to wear. Open the closet, get the clothes, and put them on. 4 steps.
Okay. Have you ever heard me ask the troll question before?
Yes. Yeah, I know the story.
Okay. Let me ask you a different kind of similar kind of thing though. So you and a boatload of people have been shipwrecked on an island. And there's a few pigs on the island, but you're concerned that you've been appointed leader, by the way. You're concerned that if you hunt them, then you won't have any pigs anymore very quickly because you got too many people to eat pigs. You got bananas, but people cannot survive on bananas alone. There's plenty of fish in the sea, but currently you don't have any fishing line or hooks. The people are looking to you to come up with a plan to manage the shipwrecked survivors' survival. What do you do?
Mm. Mm. Is that is this ship like uh, sank in the water?
Yeah, the ship sank, but it sank close to the island, so the survivors are able to swim to the shore. It hit a sandberg. A sandberg is like an iceberg, but it's made out of sand.
Okay. Um, hmm, Let me think. My first thought was about cannibalism, but
Cannibalism.
um,
Which of my fellow survivors am I going to eat?
I don't know, the weakest link in the group. Um,
Do you have any better plans besides cannibalism?
mm, I don't know, I can't think of anything. Mm.
Okay. Well, okay. So here's the deal. In terms of your affect and interaction style with me, INFJ is probably more consistent than INTP with my previous encounters with both types. My problem is I'm not sure how much your loquaciousness is curtailed or limited somewhat by not being a native speaker of English. So that's one complicating factor. But the other thing is, the way you address that last question did sound extremely TE polar. So, I mean, there's a million things you could do. Or you could say, well, we're going to separate into three. You could have asked questions like, how many people are there? We're going to separate into three groups of 20, let's say there's 60 people. And we're going to capture these pigs and give each group a breeding pair of pigs and pigs. And currently, maybe depending on how many people you set a group, set aside a group of like 5 people to manufacture some means of acquiring fish, like either um, like build a rock weir of sorts, like basically a wave break that goes up, but then the fish come into that area and they can't get out of it again. Something like that. I don't know. I can think of a billion different possible things you could do, but it is a TE question. It's asking you to establish goals to solve a general problem of we need to get these people to survive. And your answer is was not consistent with what I expected an INTP's answer. So the thing is, given that an INFJ has third slot TI and it can display fairly wide range of ways, I don't recall encountering an INFJ quite as facile with it as you are before. I would, I don't, I don't feel like it's as definitive as a test as I'd like it to be for first or second slot. It's as definitive as I'd like it to be for polar if you ask enough questions. But so basically, what I'm telling you is, I think that I can make a better case that you're right than I am. I think I can make a better case that you're an INFJ than you're an INTP. The only problem I have with that is uh, you sure sound SE polar, not SE fourth, with your relationship with executing things, doing things. Your story about the drapes. Although Rachel's been party to us not getting the drapes for a long time too. But I I suspect if she weren't with me and just sort of letting me set the lead on those kind of things, she probably would have gotten it done sooner. I don't know, maybe not. Hard to say. So, thoughts?
Hmm. I don't know. I'm confused.
Okay. Well, the bottom line is I couldn't establish that your NE was one or two, as I said. I thought I established your TI was one or two, but it's certainly plausible that you have very good third slot TI because well practiced. Um, I couldn't establish that you were SI third necessarily because even though you showed good working memory, the sort that INTPs often do, you didn't you didn't talk about your relationship with other SI things in a way that was suggestive of third slot SI. Like thinking, you don't seem to really think a whole lot about sleep in the same way that I do. Like I need definitely a full 8 hours, not every night, but if I don't get it, I got to catch up later. Like uh, I get 6 hours a few nights in a row, then I'm gonna have to get like 10 hours a few nights in a row. You don't sound like you got that kind of relationship with SI. INTPs are more similar to my relationship with SI, what you described. And while you are not a native speaker of English, your any results, if I don't account for that, are not exactly consistent with one or two. They're just a lot more consistent with an intuitive than they are with, say, like ISTP or something, which is what I was considering. But I could eliminate that. You're definitely not any poor. You're pretty good on it, but it depends what kind of any I'm asking for. If I'm asking for any about a TE situation, you draw a complete blank. So in that regard, I think you're an INFJ, and I think you're right.
Okay, so I guess I need to explore more in this topic.
Yeah, I guess maybe you do, but I feel like it's probably a lot more sure than you're going to feel about it since I initially said INTP. This is not how things normally go, right? It's usually if somebody disagrees with me about their type, they're totally full of shit, and I'm not swayed at all by them. But in this instance, you so TE polar and everything else ultimately lines up better with INFJ. So it seems like it's probably pretty sure. And I wish I hadn't gotten it wrong.
You know, when I watched other typing sessions and I heard the troll question for the first time, so my first idea here was to like maybe try some diplomacy stuff with the troll and get him out of the river, like uh, send someone to convince him that he doesn't need to like steal our food, like go with us to the town and we will share something with you, and then he can be like captured, killed, something like that. So
Okay.
that's
Well, I was gonna say that's very FE tool until you got to the part where once you successfully diplomacy him into trusting you, you kill him. So I mean, the thing is, that's fine though. It's still ultimately FE tool, right? It's like your your first thought is how can we interface communicatively with this thing in order to accomplish our goals? SE frame immediately says, how can we kill this troll? We don't need to talk to him at all. Right? And an NI frame with TE says, well, how can we solve this? How can we avoid dealing with this troll and solve the problem? You know, which is move people on the food. Uh, Regardless, your that thing you just reported, that's an FE interface first and foremost approach, which is highly suggestive of FE tool. Or first slap, but you're clearly not an FE dom.
No, I don't think I'm an extrovert. But
So
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, I felt like I cannot. Okay, I thought I can be INFJ because of the poor TE that I thought, but I felt like I cannot be like that high on an FE, like because I don't really like even interacting with people, and I'm not like meeting even with my family. I usually don't feel like any need to visit them. Uh, it's like just my social interactions stuff. It's like
Well, one thing I'll point out is that ISFJs keep up their relationships. They keep in contact with people. They make sure they touch base, etc. INFJs do not do that. That's because INFJs have SI8. As far as enjoying socializing and stuff, again, ISFJs are much more likely to enjoy that than INFJs are. INFJs uh, are liked by others a lot more than they like others.
mm. But
But
if
I mean, I would agree that your affect here is less overtly FE than I'm accustomed to seeing in an FE tool user. So I suspect that's why didn't I didn't put up much resistance against my initial thinking you're INTP. But playing it cool has its own form of FE. I agree that that not everything lines up with either of those two types. You're clearly introverted and intuitive, as far as I can tell, because if you're an introvert, you're not an intuitive, well, you're definitely not an SI dom. I initially thought you might be an INFP, but you're clearly not that conscious about your FI and much more conscious of TI. Um, you're not an ISFP because you're not any polar. You're not an INTJ because you're TEs. You're not TE. You're clearly not like TE up high, right? You're not an ISTJ because again, you're not an SI dom and not no TE. So that leaves you with INFJ or INTP. And not everything lines up under one of those, but I still say, on balance, the majority of things line up with INFJ. And the ones that don't line up with INFJ aren't determinate, they're just suggested.
Like in the past, I was like, not really like socially graceful person, and I was like even able to like tell other people like I don't like them and I don't want to like have more contact with them. And it's something I feel like my social like approach is something that I learned over time. It's not something that like comes naturally to me.
Well, I mean, being FE tool really just means when there's some kind of problem that needs to be solved that has its own logic, you will always ask somebody else or get information from some third source, some third party source, rather than try to figure it out yourself. If it's a universal kind of logic, namely like verbal reasoning, TI stuff, then sure, you'll try to figure that out yourself, no problem. But if it's like if the thing you need to problem solve has its own unique logic, you will never try to figure it out. You will always seek input answers from others. So it's like if we can nail down that happens, then the affect stuff should probably be dismissed.
Okay. I heard like one question in your typing session, like if are you angry at yourself if you like hurt someone's feelings? Is it more like FV or FI?
That's FI. If you're angry at yourself for hurting someone's feelings, well, okay. The point is, when I'm asking that question, I'm looking to see what somebody's sixth slot function is, probably. And somebody that's sixth slot FI is going to be angry at themselves when they hurt someone else's feelings because they were late to the party with putting themselves in the other person's shoes.
Like my answer to this would be I'm not angry at myself, but more often it's like I'm angry at them. Like they're offended by something I did, but I didn't think they should be. It's like, why?
Okay. Well, that sounds a lot like eighth slot FI. That sounds a lot more like INTP FI. So I mean, if I can't nail down SE polar for sure, and your answers are strongly suggestive of TE polar, but your TI is strongly suggestive of better than third, and your SI also doesn't seem. It's like it seems a little better than eighth. Also doesn't really seem like third. So I guess I don't have any real clarity here for you. I can't tell you whether you're an INFJ or an INFJ.
Hmm.
But I tried the best I could. Are you comfortable with me publishing this video, or do you want me to share it with you privately?
Yeah, I can publish.
All right, cool. So this will go up sometime this evening because it takes Google Meet like 2 hours to process it and send me an email saying it's ready. So anyway, it'll be up sometime today, but it'll be later. I mean, but right now it's noon for me. It's probably not that time in Poland, but
Yeah, sure.
I hear you guys have entirely different clocks over there. Okay, so just kidding. I will stop the recording now, and thank you for your business. And I regret that I couldn't nail it down better.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Eric.